Hello, India. It's been 76 years we, Indian citizens, have acquired our independence. But do we know the proper formal manner to respect our national honor? Well, the answer is probably yes or no. So, on the occasion of 76th Independence Day, TIU Department of Legal Science has decided to enlighten you all with some information regarding the legal aspect of national honor. Some minutes or some major details about the national honor, such as our national anthem and our national flag, is something that we all should be aware of. I am BARNA from BBALLB 4th year. In this video, I am going to present an insight on the topic Patriotism and Nationalism in Indian Legislation. Before starting, I must acknowledge that I have gathered all the required and relevant information and prepared the entire presentation solely under the guidance of our Honorable HOD, Dr. Deboshri Chakraborty. Much obliged to you, ma'am. At first, I would request you to share your words and enlighten all of us with your incredible interpretation skill and excellent critical thinking skill. Over to you, ma'am.
सारे जहाँ से अच्छा हिंदुस्तान हमारा. The words create an aura of purity, selfless love and devotion. Whatever we do, whatever we are, by these words, our love for our country grows more and more. Is that patriotism all about? Limiting our feelings for the country? The answer is no. Once a great leader told that by joining armed force is not only the way we can serve our country. We can serve our country by doing our jobs, by performing our responsibilities in the honest way. Today, I want to highlight on a point of our responsibility rather than thinking about the rights. We call our India as our motherland. So it is obvious our responsibility and privilege to conserve its dignity. If freedom is the oxygen, then the sense of responsibility towards our motherland is the molecule that formulates the oxygen. We all know and we are proud of the diversity of this country. Our motherland and our social group have their own way in showing the loyalty towards the country. The main purpose or the objective of this presentation is to wear the mask about the laws that are prevalent in our country regarding our national anthem, our national flag and national integrity. In current decades, when we all are busy in our daily schedule, the sense of patriotism can be found in 15 August and or 26 January each year. But we must think about the every single day. Just want to highlight on the ambience on 16 August or 26 January every day. It is common scenario, but that we can find our national flag on the ground and no one prefers to collect them or even show minimum respect. Also, there are certain occasions that we stand while national anthem is being played. Through this presentation, it is our humble reminder to show our gratefulness to those freedom fighters who had shed their blood for our freedom. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for giving us an insight and enlightening all of us with such information. Now, with your due permission, I would like to start the presentation on the topic Patriotism and Nationalism in Indian Legislation. Let's start with what is patriotism. It is a feeling of affection and devotion towards our nation. To make it simple, let's take an example of a practice that we do in a daily basis. We respect our parents, we worship the God. The same way, it is our moral duty to portray our patriotic respect to the nation and the national honor in order to spread an active positivism throughout the nation. Now let's move on to the next slide that covers what is nationalism. It signifies the citizenship of our nation and gives us recognition. It differentiates us with the citizens of another country and protect us from any foreign attack or outside war along with a legal remedy. Now let's move on to the next slide that is dealing with the differences between patriotism and nationalism. The first difference is patriotism is a duty that we perform towards our nation out of our own morality. But nationalism is the right that we are getting by performing the patriotic duty, which is secured under the Indian legislation and holds its own legality and remedy. The second difference is patriotism is a positive aspect, whereas nationalism is a diplomatic aspect. Now let's elaborate it a little bit. Patriotism is a duty to bring the people together and celebrate the unity in diversity, whereas nationalism comes with its legality to differentiate and protect our citizen from any malified occurrence of another country. Patriotism is an emotional morality where we are generally proud of whatever good the country is doing. But nationalism is a strict legal loyalty where we are directed to follow and comply with whatever good or bad the country is doing. Hence, we can say that patriotism is purely a positive aspect, but nationalism is a diplomatic or a pseudo positive aspect. Now, the third difference says that patriotism is a choice, but nationalism is indeed an obligation. Moving on to the next slide, which talks about the legal notion that exists especially to protect the interest of the nation. The list of legislation starts with the Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act 1971 that purely signifies the patriotic aspect. The second act is the Patriot Act, which is also known as the Prevention of the Terrorism Act 2002, that covers both the nationalism and the patriotic aspect of the nation by securing the citizenship and by protecting the nation from its own pseudo citizens or fake citizens who are harming the nation behind the shield of its citizenship tag. The third act is the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, which solely deals with the nationalism aspect. Now, these three main laws are guaranteed with the special guidelines of the Flag Code of India and orders relating to the National Anthem of India by Ministry of Home Affairs. To keep the presentation covered within the purview of patriotism and nationalism, let's take a brief look at the Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act 1971. It came with an objective to prevent the insult to national honor. Now, what is national honor? National honor refers to two main things. First is the national flag of India, and the second one is the national anthem of India. There are certain activities mentioned under this act, such as not standing straight during the flag hoisting or playing the national anthem, or not singing while a mass singing of national anthem is taking place in an assembly falls under the act of disrespecting the national honor under this act, which amounts to be punished with the fine or imprisonment or both fine and imprisonment to a specific person who is infringing the laws that are covered under this act. Regarding this, I may add A recent case that is going on against our chief minister for disrespecting the mass singing of our national anthem, where a CCTV footage has been found of a disrespectful activity. It is very important to know the minute details of some of our major pillars of our national honor so that our society and we can comply with it. Now, ignorance of law can never be a defense for infringing such guidelines. Now, let's see some important information regarding the Flag Code of India and the orders relating to the National Anthem of India. The national flag shall be handmade in rectangular shape with a ratio of 3:2 from length to height. And the National Anthem of India has two versions, one full version and one half version. There are certain occasions mentioned under the code where the full version shall be played or sung for 52 seconds and the half version shall be played or sung for 20 seconds. Moving on to the present condition that refers to the recent amendment, addition, and alteration. The first addition says that according to the amendment in Flag Code of India made in the year 2022, it says that the flag made of polyester or machine shall be allowed from now on, where previously only handmade flags were allowed. The second addition says that earlier the tricolor national flag was allowed to be vested during the daytime only, which is between sunrise to sunset, but now it is allowed to be vested in the night as well. Now, moving on to the most recent and trending addition that was made by the Supreme Court of India. Bench comprising Justice A.M. Khanwilkar and Justice D.Y. Chandrachud has ruled that the playing of national anthem in cinema hall is not mandatory before the screening of movie. Moving on to the conclusion of the presentation, where we are going to discuss a progressive legislation through the significance of bringing uniform civil code in our nation. Now, what is uniform civil code? It is a code that will be applied to the whole of India, to each and every citizens of India, irrespective of caste, sex, gender, age, or place of residence. Now, how come it become relevant here? To understand this, let's discuss a landmark case named Bijoy Emmanuel versus State of Kerala, which took place in the year 1986, approx 15 years later from the codification of the Prevention to Insult of National Honor Act. What happened in this case was there were two students who were suspended from the school for not singing the national anthem during the mass singing in a school assembly. The case went before the Supreme Court of India, and the court ruled that their activity was not infringing any provision under the Prevention of Insult to National Honor Act because they were belonging from Jehovah community. And in according to their community, chanting any other line apart from their religion is violative to their religious respect. That's why, to protect their practice of freedom of religion under Article 25 of the Constitution of India, the Supreme Court of India secured their activity and said that their suspension was illegal. Now, in one hand, the Constitution of India is securing the secularism aspect of our nation, and in another hand, it is also acting as an exception to the general rules of every other legislation existing in our nation. Not in case of national honor only, in many other cases, the religious aspect is acting as an exception to every general principle codified under the national legislation. In order to diminish this developing distinction, the nation needs an uniform civil code. That is why the Uniform Civil Code is known as the One Nation, One Law, because it will help to increase the unity of citizens, to maintain the sense of secularism amidst the diversity of the religion. In this way, We can make patriotism and nationalism a practice of devotion towards our one and only nation. I hope you find the presentation informative and insightful. Thank you.